peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us. This is Diaspora Dispatches. We get to bring you the latest from the continent of Africa, and being a Monday, I do have so much in store for you. Today being the 9th of August 2021, my name is Miriam Goto, and indeed a very warm welcome to you. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. So let's just get into it, and we start with Kenya. Kenya and Somalia have agreed to cooperate to improve diplomatic, trade and other mutual ties between them following years of frosty relations. It follows a meeting of both countries' foreign ministers in Mogadishu over the weekend. A joint statement released by the Somali Foreign Affairs Ministry said they agreed to organize a meeting for a joint framework to discuss issues of mutual interest. The areas include diplomatic relations, trade, education, agriculture, defense and security, tourism, among others. The ministers also welcomed the return of respective ambassador to Mogadishu and Nairobi. Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo Mohamed met the Kenyan foreign minister and welcomed the outcome of the talks and expressed his commitment to pursue peace and good neighborliness. Now, Kenya and Somalia's relations have been strained in recent years over Kenya's alleged interference in Mogadishu's domestic affairs, as well as over a maritime boundary dispute in the Indian Ocean, among other issues. And then we head over to South Sudan, and about 90,000 people have been affected by flash flooding in South Sudan's eastern Jonglei state, the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Agency, OCHA, has said. The UN said local authorities had reported over 70,000 people have been affected in Ayod and Kanu counties, and many were experiencing this for the second time since May. It said they faced an acute humanitarian need, with thousands now marooned on islands surrounded by water, sheltering under trees, and unable to cross to safety. And then we head over to Nigeria, where a leader of Nigeria's Jewish community jailed for a month without charge after being arrested with 3 visitors from Israel has now been freed. Authorities suspected the visitors had linked with a separatist group which had hailed their arrival in Nigeria. Lisbon Aga from the Igbo ethnic group was released after appeals, including from another African country. Practicing Jews from a tiny fraction of the Igbo population, one of the largest groups in the multi-ethnic Nigeria, Mrs. Aga has been providing assistance to the trio who came to her community in Ogidi to film a part of a documentary. We head over back to South Sudan, and South Sudan's Neighbours are set to hold a virtual meeting today to discuss the country's latest political crisis. It follows clashes over the weekend between factions of the military wing of First Vice President Riek Machar's party, with heavy casualties reported. A group of generals within Mr. Machar's Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition, SPLMIO, last week said they had replaced him with Simon Gatwech Dual, an interim leader of the party. The meeting of the East African body IGAD was called by Sudan's Foreign Affairs Ministry, Mariam Al-Sadiq Al-Mahdi, in a bid to help rescue South Sudan's fragile peace, a deal that was signed in 2018. The regional bloc said the situation in South Sudan required urgent attention. Clashes between the two factions in SPLM-IO over the weekend saw at least 34 soldiers killed from both sides. That is according to local media outlets. And then we head over to Chad, where the Chadian authorities say 22 people have been killed and another 18 wounded in fighting between farmers and herders in the western province of Hajar Alamis. A government spokesperson, Abderrahman Koulama, said troops are deployed to maintain order and that calm had been restored. Tensions between indigenous settled farmers and nomadic Arab herders in the region are long-standing and occasionally erupt into deadly clashes. The provincial governor, Amina Kojiana, told the AFP news agency that the conflict broke out on Saturday between the settled Bualala people and Arab nomads in the village of Zohana, 200 kilometers east of the capital, N'Djamena. Then we head over to Mozambique. Rwandan and Mozambican troops have retaken a key port city from Islamist militants in northern Mozambique. The Rwandan military now has said. It says Masombia, the prior, was the rebels' last stronghold. It is located in Cabo Delgado province, home to one of Africa's biggest gas fields. The insurgents had not yet commented. Last month, Rwanda sent 1,000 soldiers to Mozambique to fight the militants who launched an insurgency in 2017. More than 3,000 people have been killed and 820,000 more displaced during the conflict. The Mozambican armed force have been struggling to regain control of the province. We go to Ethiopia, where thousands of pro-government supporters in Ethiopia gathered in the capital Addis Ababa on Sunday to denounce rebels in the country's Tigray region. They rallied in Meskel Square in protest of what they see as foreign interference in Ethiopia's affairs. The government has come in from strong international criticism over the conflict in Tigray, which broke out last November. One banner at the rally called on the United States to reconsider its stance towards Ethiopia. The deputy mayor of Addis Ababa, Adaneche Abebe, told protesters that the government had been chosen by the Ethiopian people and no one could force a puppet government on Ethiopia. He said the Tigray war has killed thousands of people and pushed the area to the brink of famine. More than 60,000 people have also fled Tigray and taken refuge in Sudan. Ethiopia declared the ceasefire late June during a stunning turn in the war as its military retreated from Tigray and the resurgent Tigray forces retook key towns and walked into the regional capital, Mekele, to cheers. And we go to Sudan. Sudan has recalled its ambassador to neighboring Ethiopia, the foreign ministry said on Sunday, reporting Addis Ababa has spanned its effort at trying to broker a ceasefire in war-torn Tigray. Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, a chair of the regional body IGAD, wanted to encourage all Ethiopian sides to reach a ceasefire agreement and engage in comprehensive political talks, the ministry said in a statement. But last week, Ethiopia said their trust in some of Sudan's leaders had been eroded and accused the Sudanese army of launching an insertion into their territory. Northern Ethiopia has been racked by fighting since last November, when Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent troops to topple the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, the region's then ruling party. Tens of thousands of Ethiopians have fled to refugee camps in Sudan to escape the conflict that the United Nations now said has pushed over 400,000 people into famine-like conditions. And then still staying with Sudan, and a Sudanese court on Thursday sentenced 6 members of the feared paramilitary force to death for killing 6 protesters during the 2019 demonstration over food and fuel shortages. The protesters, including 4 school children, were shot dead in July 2019 in the city of Al Obeid in North Kordofan, sparking outrage across Sudan. Days later, 9 members of the Rapid Support Forces RSF paramilitary unit were arrested at 3, and their trial on Thursday broadcast on South Sudan TV. Judge Mohamed Rahma sentenced 6 of the defendants to death, acquitted 2 others, and referred one to a juvenile court as he was under 18. Rahma said the actions of 6 found guilty were unnecessary and were not on par with the alleged verbal provocations by the protesters during the otherwise peaceful demonstrations. In Sudan, death sentences are usually carried out by hanging, but the 6 may appeal their ruling. And then we head back to Nigeria, where a senior government official in Niger State, central Nigeria, has been kidnapped. An official statement has said Mohammed Sani Idris, who is Nigeria's State's Commissioner for Information, was abducted from his home by armed gun around 1 a.m. local time on Monday. According to a local government statement, security agencies have reportedly mounted a search operation for his rescue. This comes less than a week after the parents of the Speaker of Parliament in neighboring Zamfara State were kidnapped. And then still staying with Nigeria, and this time something to do with the Biafrans, and Aloy Ajimakor, lawyer of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has lamented that Nigeria misled Kenya to expel the separatists to the country. In a statement on Sunday, he explained that pro-Biafran agitator is technically still in Kenya. Ajimakor noted that since Kanu traveled to Kenya on a British passport, he should have been expelled to the same country and not Nigeria. Ajimakor, in a statement he signed titled "Kanu is technically still in Kenya," said it was dubious that Kenya attributed Kanu's citizenship to Nigeria because it is his place of birth. And that's quite interesting. So according to a Kanu's lawyer, Kanu is technically still in Kenya. I'm confused. All right. But anyway, let's just move along. And still staying in matters Kenya, Kenya's 2-year term as chair of the Northern Corridor policy organs ended, and the country handed over the mantle to Rwanda during the 33rd meeting of the Northern Corridor Council of Ministers held on August 6th. Kenya Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of East African Community and Regional Development, Aden Mohamed, handed over the helm to Rwanda's Minister for Infrastructure, Clever Gatete, who will serve until 2023. The vice chair position went to Uganda, while the first and second rapporteur seats went to Burundi and Democratic Republic of Congo, respectively. In the joint communique issued after the virtual meeting, which brought together ministers from the 6 Northern Corridor member states and representatives of some regional economic communities and development partners, the Council emphasized the importance of the Northern Corridor transport route and the role it plays in promoting international trade and regional integration. The meeting, held under the theme "Towards a Resilient, Smart and Responsive Corridor for Trade and Transport Logistics," was attended by ministers from Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan and Uganda, who reaffirmed their commitment towards supporting Northern Corridor projects such as roadside stations program in transport infrastructure development along the Northern Corridor highways. And then I think that is where we end our news this afternoon. But we have to talk about this matter in South Sudan very shortly, because I think it's very worrying over what is happening there. So apparently over the weekend, a deadly fighting erupted on Saturday, to be precise, between the rival factions of South Sudan's first Vice President Riek Machar, who is the leader of SPLA-IO, and his military spokesperson, of course, gave that statement. And I think a couple of people were injured or even died from that exchange. Now, the clashes, it is said, erupted after Machar's rivals declared, last week that they had removed him. And as the head of the party and its military forces and armed forces led by the rival general in the party, Simon Gatwech Dual, launched an attack on Machar's men who had repulsed the aggressors, the spokesperson, Colonel Lam Paul Gabriel, said. And Machar's SPLM-IO forces killed 2 major generals and more than 27 what they term as enemy soldiers, while they lost 3 men. Now, this is very, very worrying. This is worrying. I'm not really surprised. I'm not surprised at all. All right. But you would think, owing to the history of South Sudan and the tumultuous time Sudan has had, 10 years on being a country after gaining its independence in 2011. And I think this year they celebrated 10 years, and I think we were having this conversation here. And I was just trying to ask, 10 years later, what is South Sudan, celebrating? What have they done so far? What has the leadership achieved for the people of South Sudan? And there's nothing really much to smile about, other than the fact that we do now have, a country called South Sudan, which seceded from Sudan itself. And so South Sudan leaders have ensured that they're not committed to realizing part of the revitalized peace agreement of 2018. We keep talking about this here over and over. And I think in the last couple of weeks, there have been reports, certain stakeholders raising concerns, the United Nations, I think the African Union, the US itself, the UK, and other countries who mean well and who are committed into, finding stability and peace in South Sudan. And they've been raising concern over and over about the fragility of the peace itself, or the lack thereof, lack of the peace in South Sudan, all right. And so I'm not surprised, but I am really disappointed in, coming here and reading such a report. You would think they've learned something over what has been happening in their country and what the lack of peace, the infighting, the instability has done to the country of South Sudan, and number one, to the people of South Sudan. 10 years later, we still have South Sudanese living in deplorable conditions in refugee camps in their own country, here in Kenya, in Uganda, and other countries others in Egypt and across the world. South Sudanese are spread all over the world, but in Kenya we do have a very big refugee camp, and majority of them South Sudanese and Somalia nationalities, and in Uganda as well. So I'm really disappointed by the lack of, the leadership in South Sudan, understanding. Now look what is happening in the opposition party, and now it's broken, and we know Riek Machar, he's a very important figure when it comes to this peace process. And I think they feel like that. He feels like that. President Salva Kiir feels like that. And other stakeholders feels like that. And because they feel that they're too important, so they're just going to hold the whole country at ransom. And we've seen the lack of commitment in finding a lasting peace in South Sudan. And these recent wars that now culminated into an exchange of fire over the weekend there in South Sudan. I think it's very sad, and this was between officials of SPLM-IO, that is the South Sudan Liberation Army in opposition, that is led by the first Vice President Riek Machar. Remember, South Sudan has 5 vice presidents, and in the first vice president, I think I don't know if he's much senior in rank or whatever compared to the rest of the vice presidents, but they have 5 vice presidents. So the first vice president, Riek Machar, his camp has been having a problem, and it's just last week here I was telling you about him being, the party apparently decided to replace him with another general. So of course, the army officials loyal to him would not take this lying down. And I said, this is a sign of very bad things are waiting to happen in South Sudan. I was here, I think a week ago. We were talking about the same thing when I heard, they had replaced Riek Machar. I said, in the middle of implementing this revitalized peace agreement that they actually refused to implement since 2018, in September, that is when that peace deal was signed. Of course, they reaffirmed their commitment to that. Was it in last year in February? And so it has been a tumultuous journey for this peace process in South Sudan. So when you think that they should be focusing on actually implementing the last very important details of this peace agreement, and now you hear they're fighting within themselves. And so it's I'm disappointed. Of course, I'm not really surprised, because we know all the people in the top leadership of South Sudan, they're not really committed. The people of South Sudan are not their immediate concern, or the country of South Sudan is not their priority as per such. We've seen them fight about things that people of South Sudan don't even care so much about. The power struggles we've seen ensue, the egos we've seen at play there, things that have nothing to do with what the people of South Sudan consider to be important for them to settle down in their country and for them to get going with their lives as the rest of the citizens are doing across Africa and indeed across the world. So we've seen the power struggles from the get-go, and now it has gotten just worse with now the opposition divided. That means the rest of everything else will be derailed. I'd want to say that perhaps maybe the other side of the government could be having a hand in this. Of course, it is South Sudan, so you can't rule out anything. But still, I'm sure there's somebody pulling these cards out there. And it's still the same players who have never been interested in finding peace in South Sudan, because the more the chaos, the more the confusion, the more the warring factions, the more you keep dividing these people. There are a section of people in this world, in South Sudan itself, and outside players who continue to benefit at the expense of the people in the country of South Sudan. And that is my greatest concern there. So I'm not surprised that this happened, but I am disappointed that, one, they've not learned anything from 10 years of, they got independence in 2011. Just before they settled down in 2013, the war broke, and South Sudan never knew peace, has not known peace until today. And so you'd think so many years of fighting, maybe about 8 or so, they have learned their lesson. And maybe they have learned that, peace is important, and that is what they should work towards. But that is not the case. So I am, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. So Emmanuel Malual from South Sudan, you're saying it is time for international community to intervene. Otherwise, we will have another conflict again in South Sudan. Are you saying we will have, or this is something that is, I think, is very active right now? I think the war has just started. And IGAD has convened, I think, a very urgent meeting today. Could be it's going on right now. I did not know about the time because they want to discuss. So clashes between the two factions in SPLM-IO over the weekend, so at least 34 soldiers killed from both sides. Can you imagine? 34 soldiers have died. So now the rest of the fractions of the army or the sides that were affected, now they're sitting somewhere plotting and strategizing on a revenge mission. And this might just spark something that we're not ready, like as much as the peace process has been slow and as much as, some very important aspects of this, revitalized peace agreement of 2018 have not been implemented. But I still feel they've made a bit of a progress that you can't make that much progress and make that much, backpedaling. I think it's very counterproductive. And IGAD has swooped in, so I will be very interested to see what they come up with and what the resolution moving forward and how they plan to salvage the situation in South Sudan. And I've said this before, and I might repeat this again, just for the interest of everybody else out there who have been actively trying to engage and help and support and be with the people in the country of South Sudan. People are getting tired. You can't want peace for people who are not interested in that peace themselves. You can't be the one from outside who is insisting, hey, guys, you have to come together and work for the better good of your people and your country. And yet these same people don't see that. That is not their immediate concern, and that is not a priority to them. So you can't force it into it for them. Yeah, but I think that is up to the people of South Sudan to decide. But this crop of leadership we have currently in South Sudan are no good. Are no good for the people of South Sudan, are no good for the country of South Sudan. So I will leave that right there, and then I will be monitoring the development of that story very, very closely. And tomorrow I shall be back here, God willing, to report it for you. I think on the latest reports before I end between Kenya and Somalia. So apparently these two countries have now agreed to cooperate to improve diplomatic, trade and other mutual ties between them following years of forced relationships. I think this is very good, and this is a conversation we've had so many times here, over and over and over. And I think diplomatic solution was always the best solution, where people can sit down and talk and find out what is their problem, what are you saying, we're hearing what you're saying, so how then do we move on forward, respecting each other's boundary, respecting each other's country, and just seeing how we can foster a better relationship. After all, we are neighbors. Somalia is not going anywhere. Kenya is not going anywhere, and the relationships have not been very nice. So I think it's a good thing that the two countries are working towards having a better diplomatic relationship, and that is mutual, that both countries have, say, that both countries are respectful of each other. I think it's very important because we could benefit, both countries would benefit more when we have such a good neighborliness and a good relationship between, Kenya and Somalia. So I think that is a step towards a good direction, and I think both countries stand to benefit immensely if that relationship is restored and we're able to talk and not chest pump, not threaten, and not, I think that is very unnecessary. So I think this is the way to go. Diplomacy always, wins, and you don't have to worry about anyone, losing anything or lives or it's the best alternative if you can talk and just air out things that are a problem and just find solutions. It's always better than anything else, unless you're forced to resort to the last option, but diplomacy always is the way to go. So I think that's good for Kenya, and also that's good really for Somalia. So hopefully these talks will not become a game of cheers like we've seen in the past. One day they're issuing one statement, the next day you're reading the papers and hey, flights from Somalia have been banned from coming to Kenya, or Kenya diplomat have been expelled from Somalia. And so hopefully this will move us forward and will not keep backpedaling back and forth. It's not good. So this is a good move, and it's something that is really commendable. Well, very well. The latest from Nigeria is that a senior Niger State Commissioner for Information has been kidnapped in the latest round of kidnappings in Nigeria. I'm not surprised. That has become a very high-end business venture in Nigeria. Muhammadu Buhari is not doing much about it, and so I don't know what that is about. So that is that. So that is the latest news I got when I was coming. Apparently, the official was abducted about 1 a.m. This morning, and so that is that. Hopefully, the rescue mission has started, and hopefully they'll find him safe and sound there. And what did I? All right, and the Rwandan and Mozambican troops have retaken, the key port there in Mosimboa de Praia in Cabo Delgado in northern Mozambique. Rwanda just sent its army, I think, a week ago, and already they've been able to do much in collaboration with the Mozambican troops. I think that is a good thing. Rwanda is a small country, but very, very powerful. Remember how they helped in toppling the former strongman of the DRC, then known as Zaire, or Zaire, as people call it, Mobutu Sese Seko. Yeah, Rwanda helped in doing that. So a Rwandan army there has gone and helped the Mozambican army to, repel the extremist group that are taken over that country, that part of the country. So I think that is a good thing. That is all we had for this afternoon. This lawyer for Kanu, Aloy Ejimakor. Now, over the weekend, I think yesterday, he came out and said that the lawyer of the indigenous people of Biafra, the lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu, he has lamented that the Nigerian government misled the Kenyan government to expel the separatists, to expel the leader, the IPOB leader, from the country. So he issued this statement on Sunday. So what is confusing to me is when he keeps insisting that technically, Kanu is still in Kenya, and I'm thinking, is he not in one of the? But is he not under government custody, under police custody in Nigeria? Yeah, but he's saying technically he is in Kenya. So when you say technically he is in Kenya, but physically he is in Nigeria, we know he is in Nigeria. He was supposed to be presented to the court a few days ago. That failed to happen. But now his lawyer said, as much as, they've been piling pressure and blame on Kenya, is saying the Nigerian government misled the government of Kenya into having Nnamdi Kanu taken to Nigeria. But regardless of that, Nnamdi Kanu is technically still in Kenya. That threw me off because I got very confused. I don't know what that means. So part of his statement read, Yes, that's right. In the purest interpretations of foreign relations law as applied to British and Kenya, and I think we borrow a lot of our law from Britain since it was our colonizer. Nnamdi Kanu is technically speaking still in Kenya. So I was like, okay. It's still confusing. How many times I read it, it's still very confusing to me. But he's saying that and he's trying to interpret the law there. So anyway, we hope that he's fine. We've not seen his images since he was arrested. We've not. Nobody knows much except for what his lawyer has been saying. So it is. We hope that he's fine where he is, and hopefully, his supporters and the people who love him will be able to see him soon, either in court or, whichever. But he's not been able to be seen in public. And I don't know if his lawyer still is able to access him, but that is that. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Mugoto. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.